So you knew, you could see identification who they were?
In
at
some
least.
cases, yes. In
Some
cases, they just said who they were, and it was left at that, and they wouldn't produce ID even if I asked for it. And I had no way to retain it because my short-term memory is basically fried because of the medications I'm on.
That they put you on while you were in jail.
And
What was the purpose of their visits?
basically to debrief me, to find out what I knew and who it actually implicated. And that's what it was, Franklin went all the way to the White House.
And that implicates?
It implicates a lot of people. And
but it even goes beyond that, doesn't it?
oh yeah. It goes on, the people who control the puppet strings. And it's scary. To say the least, it's very scary.
That these people have that much power, and that they are not using it for the betterment of us.
No, they're doing it for their own good, to either cover their butts or to push along their own agenda.
Well, do you think the things that were involved in the Franklin scandal were to compromise people so that they would have political advantage over them?
Oh, but yes. Yeah, there was blackmail and all that done. They basically had a honeypot scheme set up, where they would get political people or people in power or that have money or whatever to engage with sex with men or underage kids or whatever. And then either they would be videotaping it secretly or somehow recording it.
Did you ever do any video
No,
taping? Just photographs?
No. I do mainly photographs, and on that stuff, I didn't touch that with a 10-foot pole.
You didn't get involved in the actual blackmailing of
No, but I knew that it was going on. There again, who do you go to tell? You don't know who your friends are, and you don't know
But somebody must have thought that your pictures were would put some people in jeopardy, their careers, or.
Oh yeah.
Did they blow that out of proportion, or was there some?
There's meat to it.
Yeah, there's some cause for them.
It's a T-bone steak.
Yeah. Besides this sleep deprivation, the medication, all these control mechanisms they used on you, we think it went beyond that, your programming?
Oh yeah. Yeah, they'd use subliminal programming where they would use recordings in your sleep or when they thought.
In jail, they did?
Oh yes. Oh yes. They came in and they would come in and they would play an endless loop tape in jail. Basically, you're guilty. You're take the plea bargain because it's the best way out and things like that, and then showing cop shows over and over and over again about how the perpetrator has been arrested, and they had a 2-hour endless loop tape that played over and over and over again. So you might be trying to take a nap in the daytime, you'd still be listening to it.
Could you use earplugs?
They wouldn't give them to you.
Could you?
They wouldn't let you
form your own?
They would. They were contraband. If they
earplugs were contraband.
Yeah.
Bernheim cautions that the same technique could be used to create a false witness in a court of law. But what he sees as potentially dangerous, other researchers seize on as potentially beneficial for police agencies and intelligence services.
Through hypnosis, mind control, brainwashing, you create a new identity in a person. You create an amnesia barrier between their ordinary identity and the new identity or alter personality.
Since they don't know that they have this other part of themselves, they'll never reveal the information, and they'll go to their death not knowing what's going on.
Principle amongst the various criteria that were set out in the Nuremberg Code was an overriding principle. The voluntary consent of the subject is essential.
The newly formed CIA begins to study ways to control the mind. Since the subjects are unknowing, the U.S. government is in direct violation of the Nuremberg Code.
As one of them told me, who was involved in this, he said, we didn't want to do it on housewives in suburbia. We chose the people in society who could offer the least resistance and who would be least likely to expose it, or if they did expose it, it would be least likely to be believed. They went to the underworld, to people around the drug culture, to pimps, to prostitutes, to prisoners, and the like. And those were the populations that were chosen.
The CIA turned to George White for help. He has given thousands of dollars to set up covert CIA testing centers. White rents apartments in New York and San Francisco and furnishes them to look like high-class residences. CIA researchers record the proceedings behind two-way mirrors.
And the idea was that if anyone figured out they had been drugged, were in such a compromising position that they wouldn't report it to the police, and if they did, who would ever believe them anyway?
To the CIA, depatterning also has obvious significance for intelligence work. In 1957, they begin funding Dr. Cameron's work.
What Cameron did at the CIA's instigation was to put together a specialized three-step brainwashing experiment which was conducted on unwitting people that violated every ethical standard that the medical profession had been formulating for the past 50 years.
In addition to depatterning his client, he would attempt to repattern in new thoughts and behaviors.
Trying to program in new patterns of behavior by playing tape-recorded messages hundreds and hundreds of thousands of times. The final phase was a 2 to 3 week period where Cameron would put patients to sleep using barbiturates to try to suppress any recollection of what had been done to them.
It sounds crazy, it sounds like a Frankenstein-type process, but the fact is he was president of the American Psychiatric Association and nobody called his act at the time.
When I woke up 5 weeks later, this is according to my file because of course I can't remember any of this, I was a vegetable. I'd never been in this world before. I was a baby completely. I didn't know who I was. I was incontinent. I didn't know anything.
During repatterning, Linda is dosed with a number of hallucinogenic drugs and depressants while a speaker under her pillow plays a continuous audio loop. For every involuntary human subject who is able to uncover his or her role in CIA experiments, experts believe there are many more who will never know.
There's been thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people subjected to really damaging, unethical experimentation.
And indeed thousands of people who have suffered as a result of government mind control experiments are probably 99% unaware.
One of the real fundamental abuses of secrecy in our government still today is the misuse of national security not to protect information that actually has some bearing on the national defense of our country, like how to make an atomic bomb, but rather to hide misconduct and embarrassment about misdeeds that have been done by the government.
You don't get protection by becoming the guinea pigs of the forces you pay to protect you.